brain rot and language learning. Now, brain rot is a term that I recently became aware of. Someone mentioned it to me. Apparently, it's the word of the year in 2024, according to the Oxford Dictionary. And it's related to the sort of frenetic exposure to short-length videos on Instagram and TikTok and so forth, and the way these are designed in such a way as to make particularly young people addicted to them, that they want to continue scrolling down because the algorithm is suggesting more and more potentially stimulating, interesting things that they want to look at. And so young people are spending more and more of their time sort of addicted to these short videos, which is contributing apparently to a high degree of loneliness, that young people are spending less and less time connecting socially with their friends, more and more time engaged in these activities on their smartphones. So how does all of this relate to language learning? Well, of course, in a way, I am involved with social media. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about language learning, and I use videos a lot for language learning. In other words, I find videos in different languages that I'm learning on YouTube, and I import them into Link as language learning content. However, I have always preferred videos that are 10 minutes, 20 minutes long, or even longer, depending on my level in the language. Obviously, when I'm at an earlier stage in the language, I prefer to be 3 to 5 minutes, and later on I can go for 20, 30 minutes. Most of my engagement with these videos is either in the form of audio, listening to it in the car while doing the dishes, or in the form of engaging with text, where I look up words that I don't understand. I spend very little time actually watching these videos. But the short videos, the Instagram, TikTok videos, are apparently particularly addictive and contribute to this brain rot phenomenon. And it's recognized as a social problem. And there are, controversies about how much the activities of these social media companies should be controlled, whether governments should have access to their algorithms, whether there should be age restrictions. There's a whole number of things, but it is true that engagement with these apps can lead to attention deficit disorder, anxiety. It can even lead to pain, dizziness, and nausea, apparently. But the term brain rot was first used in the mid-19th century by Thoreau, who lamented the fact that people were unwilling to deal with complicated issues and preferred simple things that could only be interpreted one way, and he felt this was damaging to our ability to think critically and so forth and so on. If that was true in the mid-19th century, it's even more true now. But I think of this in terms of language learning. So if we consider brain rot, which is related to these short videos where we become addicted to them and we don't think very much, we just kind of brainlessly move from video to video, then when it comes to language learning and videos and social media, I think there is another path, which is videos that are, anywhere from 3 to 20 minutes in length or longer, and where we are engaged with them in a way that is satisfying because we are aware that we are acquiring a language, but we are also engaging with meaningful content. We are learning things. We have a sense of achievement, perhaps, or maybe sometimes we don't even have that sense of achieving anything. And I made reference to Montaigne, who was influenced by Stoic thought, Stoic philosophy, and who took the position that he likes to withdraw from the world around him, but not necessarily in the sense of wanting to achieve anything, but in order to achieve an inner peace. And I have to admit that, as I've said before, when I withdraw or retreat into my language learning, not only do I connect with another language, perhaps another time in history, but I'm aware of withdrawing from the hurly-burly of disinformation, misinformation, all of the sort of somewhat depressing news that's hitting us from all sides, it seems. And so that engaging with, say, language content of varying lengths, to my mind, is a positive connection via social media with an opportunity to learn things, to expand, and to feel comfortable. Much like Montaigne, who withdrew to his tower in those days as a retreat from the stresses of a very troubled time in France. For me, it's an opportunity to feel comfortable in something that I enjoy doing. And I think that's what language learning via social media can offer. But I think the short video, trying to, 30-second, 15-second video, to me is not so much of an opportunity to learn languages or to learn things of significance or to get a sense of achievement, but it's sort of like an ongoing and permanent distraction, which may contribute to this brain rot. Now, to some extent, the gamification of language learning, which is most in evidence with Duolingo, but which we have also incorporated to some extent at Link, where we can, reconstitute the sentence, which is a form of gamified activity, but I think it has very good educational benefits, or the sort of maintaining your streak or achieving certain goals, all of these ways in which we appeal to extrinsic motivation is a form of trying to introduce a type of addictive compulsive behavior to language learning. But it has to be done as part of a much larger effort to introduce learners to content of interest, compelling input, meaningful input, and it has to be balanced. That's why I have always personally favored listening and reading over watching video. Of course, watching video can be stimulating. It introduces, the visual aspect. But ultimately, language learning is a matter of being able to retrieve sounds, meaning, even the written word, and I don't fully understand the way the brain incorporates those three different levels of retrieval and neural activity, but they are connected. And the visual, actually seeing what's happening, is not a necessary part of that when it comes to language learning. So, to my mind, the interaction with YouTube should be in terms of longer videos, and it should be as a springboard in order to get into interacting with the language in terms of, as I say, audio, text, and ultimately the structure of the language in the form of phrases and chunks of the language. And if done in this way, and perhaps stimulated a little bit by some gamification, the net result is to have a sense of achievement, a place where we can retreat from the world around us in a learning activity which is enjoyable, but without the sort of compulsive scrolling that seems to be a part of the short-term, video, social media sphere, and which apparently contributes to brain rot and other social ills, where young people end up spending a quarter of their day. And when you subtract the amount of time we spend sleeping, that's a significant portion of the waking day, or if we take it on the basis of a lifetime, years that are spent in this compulsive scrolling for relatively little satisfaction, and in fact, a fair amount of social or psychological problems. But I think if we are able to control how we interact with social media, it can be a force for good. And of course, if we learn languages, then we can eventually travel to the country and we can meet people and speak to them in the language. And all of these ways help us to engage with people as human beings in normal human activity in a way that gives us a sense of satisfaction. And in that sense, it's healthy. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.